afternoon, everyone. My name is Chris Cooper, known as the Channel Guy Trader, and I'm reporting to you live from Wall Street Trading Satellite Office down in sunny South Florida. Today's date is Saturday, October the 13th, 2012, and here is this week's Week in Review. I want to first start by taking a look to see how the indices closed for the week, along with some key sectors on a percentage basis. You can see here we had the NASDAQ down 2.19%, the Russell down 1.83%, the Dow Jones down 1.88%, the S&P 500 down 1.87%, crude oil was up 2.09%, GLD gold was down 1.16%, banks were down 2.27%, oil was down, not oil, but this is the actual oil index, was down 2.31%. Dow Transport showed a little bit of relative strength this week. They're only down 0.25%. And then we had volatility, nice spike in volatility this week, guys. Volatility index up 6.82%. What is that telling us? Well, we'll be taking a look at that chart shortly and go from there. One thing I do find pretty interesting on this chart here is that notice how the Russell, the Dow Jones, and the S&P 500, they're all down kind of like close to the same percentage basis. Kind of makes it seem like somebody said, hey, you know, let's have the markets down, well, maybe around 1.85, 1.87%, and turn the sell program on. That's a joke, by the way, but still, just shows you that, you know, these markets had an even selling across the board. Next week's going to be an interesting week to see which one's going to start showing some relative strength and which one's going to show relative weakness, and we'll go from there. So I have a lot of interesting analysis for you guys put together. As you guys know, this is a weekend review, so this will be an extended video. Grab your popcorn. If you're just waking up, grab your OJ. Let's get this thing started. All right, I want to first start by taking a look at the SPY daily chart. SPY monthly chart. You can see here we're having trouble at the resistance levels from the 2008 bear market highs right there in January around the 146.50 area. You can see last month we were not able to close above that level. This month we are having trouble closing above that level. So that area is definitely acting as some resistance. But either way, on the monthly time frame, you can see that definitely the uptrend is still intact. We definitely need some more clues to see if this is going to be the start of possibly a lower high from a lower high from the past, for this past 10 year, for this past 12-year range that we've been in on the S&P. It's going to be a lower high off this off the 2007 highs up here, and is this going to start a down leg? So we're at an interesting time in the markets, along with elections and everything going on. So you definitely want to make sure you're on your P's and Q's and make sure you are managing your risk accordingly. Now, let's take a look at the weekly chart. The weekly chart, you can see everything a little bit more cleaner here. All right, you can see we had this nice little price action range that we were trading above, below, back above, around this 137 area on the SPY. Traded when we broke back above it, we traded from 137 all the way to a high of 148. It's about 11 points there on the SPY. Pulled back, and now we just basically been trading in a range between, say, 143 and this 147 area. All right, if we break this week's lows, I would have to assume that 140 is in the cards, and that's going to be a very important level to see if we hold that or not. Taking a look at the daily time frame. All right, the daily time frame remains in a nice little upward channel. We're at the bottom of the channel right now from back here in June from that uptrend, and we're also at some key support. So we're at an interesting area because buyers could come in right on Monday and shoot this thing right back up, and we could just say, okay, well, we're basically just trading in a range right now, maybe until elections, or maybe until we get some more news out, or maybe until some of these companies report their earnings. We did have a couple of guides lower, such as CVX. They came out, I believe it was on Thursday, and said they were going to be short on the revenue or guided lower, and that definitely caused the stock to sell off. We'll take a look at that chart here shortly. But anyway, SPY right on the 50-day simple moving average, exponential moving average, which also kind of a triple support here. So this is a lot of support right here. So it's going to be very important to see if this SPY holds this 142.58. We have prior resistance now acting as support on this side. We have trend line support. We have moving average support. So we got three different things that line up for this to be a good support area. So if this breaks, we'd hold below it and volume comes in. That could be a scary sign that we're going to maybe pull back even more towards that 140 in the SPY. Definitely will be watching that. Now, some of you guys trade the SPY. I watch the ES intraday for the price action. I'm going to take off the channel analysis stuff that I have here, just show you guys the key price, just the key price action. All right, and one thing that you can see is that, take these off right here. Give me 1 second. One thing you can see that on the ES, we're still in that nice little uptrend, just like the SPY, but we're at this key area. This 1420 area lines up with the 20-day simple moving average and exponential moving average Also lines up with prior resistance, so now support. If we break below 1420, all right, I would say that we have 1400 in the cards. All right, same way we have 140 on the cards in the SPY. All right, so that's that. Let's take a look at, now if you want to take a look at the channel analysis stuff that I have on it, let me bring that up real quick for you guys. 1 second. Now that's showing some interesting, very interesting stuff. Show all drawings. All right, and let's talk about what we have going on here. Okay, now we highlighted before. Let me take off these drawings. We highlighted before how we were in this nice little high base channel right here. I'm not going to go back and forth to the whole spiel here. But you can see how this area was a key price action in between this channel, what we call a short for a breakdown. Well, actually, I'll go through the whole thing here because this is very important. So we had the nice little tight flag right here, right in our channels. Broke out, consolidated a bit, consolidated in this nice little high base, broke down. That's when we started shorting the Apple and all that stuff like that. Made some nice money there. Then we sold off, broke right back above the channel, so shook out everybody that got short during this period right here. They got basically squeezed out the market. That's what happened going to those job numbers. Market rallied up. Who knows? Jobs numbers said they were fake or not, or they were fluffed. Either way, they sold that jobs number, and we've been going down ever since off that nasty reversal we had that day, that Friday. And I said that, we could pull back towards this trend line. If that trend line breaks, we're going to pull back all the way down towards 1420. Well, guess what, guys? That was in the weekend review. That's exactly what happened. We pulled down all the way to 1420. Now we're at this key area. Why is this a key area? Because the same way you have regular horizontal price channels, we have this at a slight downward angle price channel. All right, so could this be the new range? All right, between these channel lines right here. I know there's a lot of lines, but bear with me. You guys can see the main thing I'm trying to bring to you guys' attention. So, I mean, we're at an area where it's going to be tough to try to short it right here. All right, just because, I mean, even from my trend line, but even just from the regular price, the key price level that we're at, it's at a very important area. So I'm going to be looking over some stocks, and I already have a list of a couple that are coming down into some support levels, or some stocks that if we were to gap down Monday and those stocks were to gap down a little bit lower, they'll be in some nice areas to buy. So we'll have a list of those stocks ready to go on Sunday night at 9:30 p.m. in our Sunday night chat session that we have at 9:30. If you guys have not been there, it's mywallstreettv.com. Password to log in the room is smart. We're there every Sunday night, again at 9:30, getting our traders prepared and everybody that wants to join us for the following trading week. So that's the SPY. Let's take a look. That's the ES. Let's take a look at the weekly chart. Weekly chart still remains in a nice little uptrend. Again, that 1410 area is going to be important. The 1400 area is going to be important if we start holding below 1420 on the ES. Taking a look at the monthly time frame, see the same thing. We've been having some trouble, for the past month or so up at these levels. So we'll have to see how it plays out. Then last but not least, just a regular SPX, the regular cash index. And I'm just going to show the daily chart of this one here. But you can see here, nice upward channel. All right, we got a slight close below that trend line on Friday. And we'll have to see if we start again. This has not even touched 1420 like the futures have. But if the cash index trades below 1420, we could get some nasty action. But just to advise you, we do have some support from this little key trend line from this little prior channel that was in play right here. That's going to be coming in around, say, the 1410 area. That's another level to watch there. All right, so let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. Let's start off with the Qs, triple Qs. Start off with the monthly chart here real quick. Now, the triple Qs, guys, I brought this to you guys' attention in the weekend review, how we were at the 50% retracement from the bear market or from the tech bubble sell-off that we had. And we retraced 50% of that action, from the 2009 lows, rallied all the way up to that 50% area around the 52 level on the Qs. And now we're having trouble breaking past the level. Just some consolidation taking place up here that we have to see if it's something more. But one thing I want to bring to you guys' attention, the highs that we made back here this year in April, we try to hold above that level for the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks or so. And now we got a nasty break below that 68 level. Next support level on the Qs doesn't look to be around until like around 63 or so. All right. At the same time, guys, this is a downward channel. This is a downward trend line, right? And you guys know these downward trend lines usually like to go back and back test before they try to move higher, or if anything, they like to try to come down and put a higher low in to work off of the the key candle that broke us out that little downward trend line. So we'll see. If we pull back a little bit more and we try to put like some reversal candle on the weekly time frame, that could be the higher low off the breakout candle. That could take for a move back up. So we have to wait to see. More clues needed. Let's take a look at the daily chart of the Qs. Let me put my moving averages back on here. You can see that we have some support coming in around the 60. What's this level here? The 65.53 area. Okay, which lines up with some prior resistance, which now is going to be support. Also lines with this trend line support. So that 65 area is going to, I think it's going to be a magnet. I think we still have some more downside early next week, and I'm going to take a look at the volatility index and show you guys why. But so the Qs, we continue selling below 66.5, which we're kind of at some support right here from this action that took place back here in August, around the 66.5 level. We have some support right here, but if we break the 66.5 level, look for us to make a move towards 65.5, where we have some decent support. Then if we break below that, we have the 200-day moving averages around 64.69 and 64.44. All right, next thing I want to take a look at is the IWM. All right, the IWM, nice downward channel that was trying to break out last Friday off the jobs numbers. Of course, that came in. As soon as that happened, as soon as that happened, I automatically knew that that was a bull trap scenario, and so far that's been playing out as the bears have been taking over the small caps ever since that bull trap took place right here out of that channel and above this key inflection point from this little zone that we had. All right, so now the IWM is at some light support around 82. However, the real support is going to be down here around 81 or so, which also lines up with the bottom of the channel. All right, and that'll be a good area to try to pick up some TNA or something for maybe a little scalp opportunity. We'll have to wait and see. But if IWM trades below 82, you want to watch the 81 level. Let's take a look at the weekly chart. You can see the weekly chart. Try to do a little breakout above this key. This 83 level on the IWM is important. As you can see, it was important back here earlier in the year. We tried to break above it. We failed. All right, we got back above it. We got back above it over here in September, and now we're kind of going right back below. So a lot of bull traps taking place around this 83 level. And now, if we hold below this 83 level, I will have to assume that 80 is in the cards, which is another $2 lower on the IWM. What does that mean? That means there's opportunity to make some cash flow. So that's what it is looking like on the IWM. Now let's start by taking a look at the. I just want to show you guys the Dow Jones futures real quick. The Dow Jones futures is at support right from this little price channel that we've been in since the June lows. Also lines up with some nice support around the 13,250 area here, 13,250, and we'll have to see if the Dow Jones could hold here. All right, if we break below 13,200, I'll have to assume that we're going back down towards 13,000. All right, so that's what the Dow Jones is looking like. Dow Jones futures, that is. Let's go ahead and start off by taking a look at the dollar futures now. You guys know I've been tracking this dollar pretty much to the T, using these downward channels, upward channels, key inflection levels, and now you can see that the dollar futures are right back at the top of this little downward channel that was in play here from these inflection points. This one, and this one. The trend line was actually looking like this, but then since we came down here and put this another low, I just adjusted the trend line to that bottom line down there. In any case, we're kind of at a key area where you have to really watch a price action, and that's really what technical analysis is. You have your trend lines, you have your levels to watch, and when the price action gets there, you look a little bit more closer on the small time frame to see who's going to take control and which way it could go from there. So right now, we're watching the dollar futures, U.S. dollar, pretty close to see what's going to happen here. We do have some support around the 79.40 level. We do have some resistance around the 80.20 level. So we're kind of in a range-bound action right now, but at the same time, remember, we're at the top of that channel. And if we start trading back down and backside the channel, we could get some nice selling pressure on the dollar. Commodities bounce, market bounces, risk back on, and and nothing happened. So it's going to be very interesting going into next week to see what the dollar does. And so far, if we take a look at the weekly chart, we see that it broke this little upward channel. And so far, it's been holding below the upward channel, and right now it's just kind of consolidating for the past 4 weeks or so. Monthly chart on the dollar futures had a failed breakout of a bull flag that was setting up that broke down back here in August. And really, until we get back above 81.5 or so, I'm not really bullish on the dollar at all. I play it as it goes on a day-to-day basis. Let's take a look now at the euro, because the euro is telling us something pretty interesting, especially especially for my analysis. The euro is telling me that there could still be some buyers in there. As you guys know, I've been tracking the euro pretty much to the T and showing you guys some of the analysis that I do, and I just use this as a gauge along with the dollar to see if risk on or risk off action along with the commodities every morning. And right now, until we get back below, say, 127 on the euro, I'm not really looking to go short the euro. All right, I'm actually looking at this thing like it wants to go higher. You see this nice little consolidation channel right here, a nice little slight angle to the downside. So you guys know these little downward sloping channels usually result to the upside. So I find it pretty interesting that this thing's kind of holding up while the markets, or that the euro's holding up while the markets been getting some selling pressure. And if the euro breaks past this upward trend line, all right, this is going to be like a little bull flag pattern. Can you guys see that? You got your nice little up move, sideways consolidation. And if this breaks out, I'm going to have to assume that the dollar's going to get some selling pressure and that this is going to continue higher. Remember, the euro goes up, the market goes up, dollar goes down. Commodities usually catch a bid. So a lot of interesting things taking place here. And, of course, if you guys are in the My Wall Street TV chat room, we're going to be all over it going into next week to see which one of these scenarios is going to play out. And we're going to have some good stuff. So that's the euro daily chart. I'm not going to go into the weekly chart, the monthly chart. You guys can look at that. That's just the main analysis I want to show you guys on the daily chart. Now let's take a look at the volatility index. The volatility index, we've been on top of this as well ever since the market was trying to break out and move slightly to the top side, and the volatility index was holding this bid around this 13 area. Well, now we had this consolidation. We broke above it, came right back below it, broke right back above it. So this 15 level on the VIX, the VIX volatility index, is very important. If we go hold above 15, and then we have this key trend line that we're watching as well, and we consolidate a bit, we could be looking for a breakout in the volatility index. So keeping a very close eye on the VIX, setting alerts every time it makes a new high, just kind of gauge the momentum. And this looks pretty interesting. Now, if we do not break out and we break back below 15, we're going to be moving back down towards 13.5, and we'll see how it goes. But notice how we have this little area to work with now going into next week, and something's brewing here. And it's either going to be a breakout in the volatility index for a little pop and the market sells off, or the volatility index is going to respect the top of the channel like it's been doing and move right back to the downside. All right, so a lot of interesting stuff, like I said, going into next week here. That's the volatility index. Let's take a look at the crude oil futures, as crude oil was up a little bit this week here. You can see here, crude oil is trying to get a bounce. But really, until crude oil gets above 94, this little bounce in crude could be a potential short. All right, really want to see this crude oil get back above 94, back above this base that broke down. That's acting as resistance on this side to get kind of a little bit more bullish. Had to have a little bit more bullish tone. If you're bullish on crude oil, you really want to see it above 94 and hold in that bid. All right, so that's what's looking like on crude oil. Take a look at the weekly time frame. You can see the weekly time frame, nothing much there, just pulled back and caught a bid this week. Monthly time frame. On the monthly time frame, we have something very interesting set up for crude oil, and I've talked about this before. We have a nice little triangle pattern here, and crude oil is going to be making a big move going into 2013. In that first quarter, if we don't break out or anything doesn't happen that changes this pattern on a macro level, or war or dollar just sells off and they start buying crude or something like that. So that's crude oil. Take a look at gold futures /GC on the Thinkorswim platform. Gold futures still hanging in there, looking pretty nice. Just basically just some sideways consolidation right now taking place off of that big up move that we had for the past month or so. And you can see right here, just a nice high base that we're in right now. Okay, and a couple of the gold miners. Take a look at the weekly time frame. Weekly time frame resistance around this 1790 level, call it 1800. Just really probably need to consolidate a little bit sideways and build like a little higher base before they try to push gold higher, so people can have more conviction that it wants to go higher. Monthly time frame above the moving averages here, looking pretty good to make a move up towards, in my opinion, up towards 1830. All right. What else here? Let's take a look at gold miners. Gold miners, tough action in this group as this one has been trading pretty choppy. The same thing like gold, still looking pretty decent. You know, as long as this holds, as long as the GDX holds a 51 area, we're basically just in a range between 51 and 55. And like they've been doing, they've been buying the bottom of that range. So, you know, until that changes, we'll have to keep on doing that. So next week we have some early selling pressure. Want to see those miners catch a bid down in this area and look to scoop some miners up for a move back up, potentially back to the top side. All right, that's the chart on the GDX. Let's take a look at the weekly chart. Weekly chart having some trouble around this resistance from this 54 area. And then take a look at the monthly. You can see that how this area right here, the 54 area, is very important on the chart there. Let me see 1 second here. Yep, 20 months. All right, yeah. So once the GDX starts holding above 54, then we can say that it should be off to the races as we'll be biting through all this resistance right here. But that's the key level to watch, 54 on the GDX. Okay. Let's take a look at silver. All right, haven't had a chance to trade any silver yet. You know, I am a fan of trading like the SLW, PAAS, CDE, EXK. I like trading the silver stocks, but I've been mostly focusing on the gold. But silver, same thing, high base consolidation taking place here, 32, 34, 2-point range that's been in for the past 6 weeks or so. And just got to gauge and look at the bottom of the range to see how buyers come in and act around that 31.5 level or so, which lines up with the 50-day simple moving average. Take a look at the weekly chart. Weekly chart, just, you know, nice run up, needs to pull back a little bit or consolidate a little bit there. Taking a look at the monthly chart. Monthly chart looks pretty good off these previous 2 strong months that we had. So just so far this month, a pause month. That's SLV. Let's take a look at copper via the Ford's copper futures. Copper futures, nice run up, sideways consolidation up here. You know, so far having trouble holding above this resistance area, which I have highlighted in red. And until we get back above that and hold, well, copper may get some short-term selling pressure, and that's what I'm looking at right there. But either way, this is kind of a bullish pattern right here. You have a nice little up move, nice little sideways to downward consolidation right there. All right, watching copper to see if it tries to make a ABC leg up here. If that happens, you want to make sure you're watching FCX, SCCO, and some of those other metal and mining copper stocks. All right, what else we want to take a look at? I took a look at the volatility, took a look at the Euro, GLD, went over everything on the indices. All right, let's take a look at a quick couple sectors here real quick, and then I'll leave the rest for Sunday night at 9:30. Sectors, semiconductors, we talked about this last week. All right, actually talked about this earlier in the week as well with some of the people in the chat room, how the semiconductor stocks had a failed break and how we can expect those to get some more selling pressure this week off that pattern. Well, that's exactly what happened. Why? Well, if you take a look at the pattern here, we had a nice little setup range trade. We broke out back here on August the 3rd. We traded above the 390 level on the semiconductor index for about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks. We broke down 2 weeks ago, rallied back up, back test held, and that's when we call the semiconductor sector as a short. And voila, semiconductors was one of the weakest index this week on a sector basis, especially here, weakest sector. All right, so that's that. They look like they want to go lower. Intel has earnings, I believe, on Monday or Tuesday. Let's take a look when it has earnings. I think it's Monday or Tuesday. Intel has earnings on Tuesday. And just to show you guys some of the channel analysis stuff, you guys recall, I believe in the weekend video or on Monday night's video, I talked about how in my channel analysis that Intel was breaking this little downward channel range. And this is the same type of range that you have, except that it's at an angle. All right, but the same type of range that you would have if you were trading in a horizontal price range. We had a little breakout. It put a little higher low, and that tried to make it to the top, couldn't, and it came in. That's exactly what happened right here. All right, so we call that. We had the 23 strike weekly puts on Intel. I covered mines on Tuesday, and you know, they closed up about 50% at the end of the week. Those were the weeklies, so good stuff there. Now, let's go back and take a look at the banking index, the BKX. The banking index had some nice selling pressure on Friday, came in. Wells Fargo and JP Morgan had earnings. I think Wells Fargo actually held it pretty well. It held the 34 level pretty well. JPM was a little bit weaker. The Citigroup has earnings on Monday. The BKX index, I think the banking index wants to pull back a little bit. maybe back up here towards 49. Then maybe if that 49 doesn't hold, maybe back towards 48.5 or so against this key trend line I have on my channel system. That's going to be kind of like a little breakout right there, then kind of like a little back test area. So still a lot of clues that show that the market could just be pulling back for a long opportunity. All right, that's that. That's that. IBM had a nice little bounce on Friday. You know, the measured move is 118 off this inverse head and shoulders pattern. Of course, you know, it's not always textbook, so it's, you know, the same amount of time that it took the pattern to form is what they say is the same amount of time that it may take for it to get to that target. All right, but anyway, IBM had a nice little up day on Friday. This one has earnings on Tuesday after the bell. Definitely going to be a very interesting stock to watch to see. It is trying to catch up to Google. It did make all-time highs here. Yeah, it did make all-time highs here last week. Pulled back on some lower volume than it did when it broke out, and got a bounce on Friday. Keep an eye on this stock. If this stock reports good numbers, this stock's going to be back above 212, I think, here. Keep an eye on IBM. Let's see what Google's doing. Just go look at a couple of the horseman stocks here. Google pulling back a little bit. They have earnings next week, Thursday, I believe that is. So it's going to be a blockbuster week next week, guys. Next week when we have a lot of the major companies reporting their earnings. All right, so Google. Let's take a look at Amazon. Amazon's been trading kind of weak here, closing 3 consecutive closes below the 50-day simple and exponential moving average on the daily chart. Again, one of the stocks that I'm watching, like I was telling you for the scenario, if we gap down on Monday and it presents a buying opportunity, I'll be watching Amazon. As you guys can see here, Amazon was in this little prior range right here before it broke out. So that range should act as support in this area. So looking to pick up some Amazon around this 237, right in this little zone right here, 231, 237. We get some nice reversal candlestick that forms in this area. I'm going to be looking to get long. As you know, this was a strong stock. Still is a strong stock, just pulling back more than expected off the weakness we've been getting in the market and in some of these high beta stocks. So that's about it, guys. I'll have more analysis in the Sunday night 9:30 p.m. chart session. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope I didn't bore none of you guys to death, as this is some good stuff that if you watch it and you trade with us, you're going to make some money via our ideas and our analysis. And that's really about it, guys. Make sure you go to our website, wallstreettrading.com, and have a great weekend. Enjoy your days off, and watch some football. Have a great one, guys. Later.